Hi everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and in this one I'm playing with another collage paper from Natalie May Scrapbooking, and I'm just trying to catch, I think this one's called Vibrant Beauty. So initially I am just cutting the collage paper down to size so that I can fit it into my journal a little bit easier. You can see I'm just going to disappear a bit off the bottom as well. And then kind of deciding where it's going to go. So for this page, I'm pretty sure that I end up sticking the whole sheet onto my page. Yeah, there we go. Lots of excessive amounts of matte medium. But as you know, if you've watched me journal before, in this journal, that these pages are really thirsty. So actually you can see that has just kind of disappeared into the paper fibres. And then I am just gently easing that image onto my page and gluing it down in place. If you're really careful with this, you can make sure that you get it down without too many wrinkles and crinkles in it. And generally speaking, they do kind of brush out quite nicely. And then you can gently go over it with your finger and just kind of burnish it a little bit more so that it is nice and flat. But you can see that's gone in really nicely. So then I would have given that a really good dry. And then on this other page, I am just adding a bit of clear gesso for the very reason that the pages are thirsty. And this just prepares the page for accepting the wet media that I'm going to add on, including like the paint and everything like that. So that's my reason behind using it. And you can see without too much effort, that kind of just has disappeared into the page. So these are some collage papers also from Natalie May. I do still have some of her collage papers available on my website, although at the moment I don't have any of these text ones, but I may well get some. Now I'm going to start working on making the image belong on the page. So although I've stuck the whole sheet in, I'm going to start overlapping pieces of collage paper onto that other side, just so that it isn't like a hard stop where the end of that collage paper is. And I'm mixing up the collage pieces that I'm using. I'm just ripping them into smaller pieces, and I'm just going to start layering those on, overlapping them, and popping them down on the page. And I'm using matte medium to stick these in place. The matte medium that I generally use is the Winsor & Newton one. Yeah, it's just kind of, I generally tend to buy whichever one's on offer when I need some more, so I'm not particularly fussy about which one I will use. So then I'm using fuchsia, Dina Wakley Media, Dina's heavy body acrylic paint through this Circles for Painting stencil. This is one of Dina's. It's one of my absolute favourite stencils. I love it because it gives you some nice big areas of stenciling, which are a great way to start a page when you are starting off adding some stenciling on. And you can see that I'm bringing that stenciling right across the page and across onto the collage paper as well. And I'm going to do the same up in that top corner there, just going to make it feel like it's meant to be there. And now I am using this frond stencil. I'm using Sedona here, and I'm just going in adding some little fronds. So the reason for this is kind of like the feathery feel that's going on in the lady's hair. And so I wanted to kind of echo that with the stenciling that went on my page, and came across this stencil that I'd not really used a great deal. And I just loved how that looked. So I'm just going in and adding some bits of these fronds around the circles that I've already stenciled onto my background. So often this is a way that you can make images feel like they're meant to be on your page, and that is to go straight in and use colours and images that are already on the collage paper. So this is another stencil of Natalie's. Let me just find out what this one's called. I cannot for the life of me remember. I think it's called, yeah, Pointy Branches. And I've just, that looks like I've used heather I think it is. And I'm just adding some of these onto my page, just kind of helping to frame the edges a little bit. And again, just adding more levels of interest to the page. So sticking with the colours that are kind of already there on the collage image. And then I'm just watering down that paint that's left, and I'm going to just add, of course, some splatters. That's a great way to break up a background as well. Oops, trying not to get it on a face. Then I'm just adding in some white in her eyes, just to help bring those alive. And then I'm just going to roughly outline those circles using my white gel pen too. So that just pulls those out of the background and into the foreground a little bit more, makes them a bit more of a player in the main page, really, I guess. And the reason I keep moving my book off camera is I think I was filming a reel at the same time, so trying to get the work in 2 cameras, not just one, is very, very tricky. So now I'm just using a black gel pen and I'm outlining these pointy branches from Natalie's stencil. And you notice I'm using really sketchy lines. I'm going over it a couple of times. I don't want it neat and tidy. I like that kind of deliberately sketchy look. I think it kind of works better with everything else that's going on the page. So this is a really great technique for creating another layer of interest. So I'm popping the stencil back down over the stenciling I've already done, and I'm going in with a text stamp and I'm stamping through the stencil. It's a great way to create more interest in your stenciling. Obviously you end up with a bit of stamping on your stencil, so if that would stress you out and you'd like your stencils nice and clean, then I wouldn't advise doing this. As you know, I don't wash my stencils, and generally once the archival ink is dry it won't reactivate, so for me that's not really a problem. So next I'm using my Posca pen and I'm going in and just adding some white dots. I'm doing this to just create a little bit of contrast on my page too. But you can also see now how that stamping through the stencil has made those little purple pointy leaves even more interesting. And then I am going to write my quote on the top in this space, all about self-care and how important it is. It really is, and I think a lot of us go around worrying about everybody else and we don't always put ourselves in a high enough priority. Yeah, it is important to look out for yourself, particularly if you're in that kind of caring role. You know, if you're the one doing the caring, you've got to make sure you've got some time for yourself, because if you can't manage, then everything else is going to fall apart. So self-care, it is very important, definitely. I'm just going over the text again using my Posca pen and just adding a bit more definition to those letters. This is something that I often like to do, just want to kind of pop them out a little bit more from the background. And then I'm using my Signo Uniball in white and I'm just adding what you might call as like a drop shadow, but it is just a shadow lines in white, which never sounds right really, but there we go. It is what I'm doing to my letters. So it draws a bit more attention to them, but yeah, they're not kind of in your face and mega obvious. So this is it's a nice thing to do. And here it is, here's the finished page. So this was a really fun one to do, and obviously you can still see the edge of the collage paper in 1 or 2 places, but it didn't really bother me that much. If that bothered you a lot, then you could go in and add more stenciling just to mask that edge a little bit more. But yeah, it's lots of fun just to stick a whole sheet of collage paper in and take your journal page from there. So I hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.